Okay. Welcome, everybody. It's another We Talk Art Day. And you might notice that Pam Comfort has a little bit different look today. This is Chris, who's standing in for Pam. And I'm honored to have Eve Miller as our guest artist. And she's coming to us. I think are you in New York now, Eve?
No, I'm back in my studio in St. Mary's, Georgia.
Okay, cool. Anyway, I'm up in the northeastern part of Oregon right now, and so hopefully my Wi-Fi is all good and stable because I'm kind of remote. But welcome everyone, and I'll just remind everybody to please mute, and then if you want to ask a question, use the chat, and Chris and I will monitor that and try to answer your questions as they come up. And sorry about that. So I think we'll go ahead and get started and welcome Eve. Um, I'm just really honored to have you here, and I follow you on social media and see your daily paintings every day of all these great pieces. And anyway, I want to hear your story. How did you get started in art? What what's your story, girl?
Very interesting story. So, no background at all, no degree. I have 2 doctorates in French and Spanish, and I taught both at every level from, you know, 6th grade to PhDs. And I taught for about 35 years. And then we went on vacation from New York to Hilton Head, South Carolina. And my husband said, "Would you retire to live here?" And I said, "I'd retire to live in a tent." So, yeah. Hi. So I'm going to be retiring. No, not next year. I'm thinking right after Christmas. So that's what happened. I retired from teaching, but I've always taught, and I can go back to that because that's kind of interesting. Anyway, we moved to this gorgeous island in South Carolina on the coast. Golf and tennis every day. Sweet little house. And one winter, so now I'm in my 60s, and I was about 65 at that point. And it was really cold. It was March. And I thought to myself, ooh, I have to go out with the girls 9 o'clock and play golf. Then we're going to do lunch. And then there's drinks at 5. The whole day is shot. And I was kind of thinking, where's the purpose in all this? Being under 5 feet, I'm not an athlete, but I liked golf and I like tennis, but I'm not going to be a star, nor was I trying to be. Anyway, so I saw I was somewhere in town. The town was Beaufort, South Carolina, if anybody knows it. It's a wonderful, wonderful area. Fabulous. Um, and I do miss it, but it got so expensive where we were um, to live on this island. And it just, I mean, at a certain point, it's just too much money. So I saw a sign in town that said art classes at it was like a county organization that was giving art classes. And I decided it said it was watercolor. So I signed up, and I didn't go to golf, and it was still cold. So I thought, oh, good. And so I went to and it's always who you meet. Very important how the fate aspect worked to it. I met a woman named Pam, and of course I knew nothing because to back up and aside, when my family came from Belgium, I had to learn English. And in those days, immigration, you're going back 65 years. Immigration was you had to be sponsored. You had to have, so my father, they came out of World War II, went into Brussels, and my father was, which is the only place I can imagine art came from in my life, was a leather craftsman. That was his trade. So he made handbags. I have still handbags my dad made. And my mother had a shoe store, but she was actually a seamstress. So my mother made all my clothes, including my wedding gown. Um, and I was always dressed very strangely in the United States. I had Peter Pan collars and covered buttons and all this stuff that other kids didn't have because my mother, being European, wouldn't let me out of the house without matching everything and the handbag. I looked like a nut. But anyway, so that was the background. We're in the States. I have to learn English. I can't take electives because I had to redo all my math and science. I didn't have any. So by the time I got to high school, it was still a matter of 2 geometry classes, 2 science classes. So I didn't take home ec, which is not the excuse why I don't cook, but I didn't, home ec, typing, any of those things, art, music was not offered to me because I had to be on track to go to college because I wasn't stupid, but I needed certain classes. So that's why I didn't have any art. So then I graduated college in 3 years because I wanted to make up for the year I lost playing catch up. Get out of college. And my mother, of course, had said, and you will get a job teaching French, right? Of course I will, which I did. And of course, I knew many languages from my sister stayed in Europe and lived in Europe. So I knew Italian and I knew, Portuguese and all these other things. So it was easy for me to do that. And so I retired back to where we were. And when I retired, I went to this watercolor class and I, being the good student, had gotten everything on her supply list. And she said, just do some gradients. And I'm like, a gradient. She said, it's a wash. A wash. And she showed me. She took the time, there were like 6 of us. She took the time, she came over and she showed me. I must have done washes out of those 6 weeks, 24 hours a day. I had the best washes of anybody. I wanted to do these washes. And when it came to the end of that class, she said, you really should continue. I said, okay, what should I do? She said, do you know, oh, she's still around, Mary. I forgot Mary's last name right now. Anyway, she's teaching an oil class. And I went, oils? Ooh, I don't know what to do about that. She goes, well, just sign up and you'll get a supply list. So I did that. So now I walk into the same building, same room, so I was okay. And when I walked in, I knew enough people from where we were living. Half the class were professional artists in the galleries downtown that they had this group thing that they took these classes together. So now I'm panicked. So again, knowing if a person, not knowing, but if the fates put the right person with you. And this wonderful woman, Mary, said, let me get them started. I'll get you situated. She said, take out the alizarin crimson. Can you give me that? What is it? She said, it's a cool red. A cool red? You mean there's a hot red? I'll be right back. So that's how that started. And on the supply list was bring in a photograph, small, which I've never forgotten because people bring to my workshops these huge photographs. You don't need all that. Anyway, so she said, paint what you're going to paint what you see here. And looking at your photograph, and she asked me about it, and I said, well, my son, the prince, I have one son, the prince had made a little vase in high school, and it was because it had been that winter. I started in March. This is April. There were jonquils. Took the jonquil, put it in the vase, put it on the floor. Sunlight came in. I went, ooh, this looks pretty. Took a picture, took it. She wanted black and white and one in color, 4x6. And she said, paint what you see. Well, I brought a 16x20 canvas. That's what I brought because I don't know what I'm doing. She said, it doesn't matter. You're going to squint and you're just going to look at your black and white. She didn't say thumbnails. She didn't. That could have turned me off right there. But, now I love my thumbnails. But at the time I went, "Ooh, I don't know. What do you, ooh." Yeah. And it went on. I have the 16 by 20, which is not the best thing I've ever done, whatever that means, but it wasn't bad. It looked like a turquoise vase with a jonquil, and it had a nice background. So she said, "You really need to continue after these 6 weeks." And I said, "Oh boy, now what am I going to?" She said, "You need um, register, not register, to become a volunteer at the art association in town. You will meet other artists. They offer all kinds of things." And that's what I did. So that once a month I would sit for the day at the gallery of the art association and meet all these wonderful people who would teach me all day. It was phenomenal. And it was not only that, it was fun. It was so much more fun than hitting that little plastic ball, going nowhere into the woods. So I instantly gave up golf and tennis, unfortunately. I mean, I played once in a while, but basically I went off the teams and all that because this is all I cared about for whatever reason. See, that's the other part. It was magic because I didn't know how much I cared or how much I would love it. So I was at the art association, and there was a woman there, this woman, Linda, who did pastels. Now, so one day I'm walking. You want to hear all this?
Yeah, sure. I think this
Oh,
is fun.
okay. Yak, 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 yak. You wanted a chat? Ooh, yak, yak. So I'm walking around the gallery and I see this lace on this hat. And I'm like talking to the guy who's sitting with me. I said, "What do you think that is?" And he says, "It says pastel." I said, "What do you think that is?" He said, "It's a stick." I said, "She made that out of a stick?" He goes, "Well," he says, let's see, if we can get a hold of her and have her explain it to you." He calls her, she comes, we meet. So I took all of her classes. She had gotten a what do you call it, from Pastel Society of America, a scholarship. She lived
Oh,
in Connecticut. She had moved to Beaufort, but previously, so she was already trained and she had the scholarship. And she's the one who instigated me to enter anything. So this is how bad I was. She'd say, "Oh, well, I won this award at PSA, and I won this award at Catherine Lorillard Wolf." And I said, "How do you get these awards?" She said, "Well, you have to enter your paintings. You got to keep painting. You got to paint every day." And I'm like, "Oh, I can do that." And she's like, "Yeah, but you got to be good. You got to get in." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know, but I'm willing to try." And she's like, "Well, she goes, "Did you sign up for my next class?" And so I was with her for, I don't know, maybe 9 months, something like that, till she became ill. In the meantime, she never really advised me or corrected me. She let me figure it out, which is good and bad. But she would drop these names, um, like Doug Dawson and Albert Handel and all these names, and I was like, I have to look them up. Who are these people? And so then once I went, oh, the big boys. And then it was Miss Mowry. Oh, I fell in love with Miss Mowry. I mean, I'm still friends with her son. I mean, she's amazing. So all this world opened up at the right time, just the right time. So now, um, and I always say this, and I have to honor this person, because even though he realizes it, but and he knows how much I admire his work. Richard McKinley influenced me tremendously on so many levels. And you know how big Richard is. He's very tall. And I would look up and say, "What do you think?" It was pretty funny. So I took some classes from him and learned a tremendous amount. And I've just kept up with it. And so if that answers how I got involved, so the actual teaching part, I think, is important because I remember being maybe 2 or 3 years old and still in Brussels, and our bathroom was upstairs, was a townhouse. My father's factory was downstairs. We were on the first floor, ground floor, and the bathroom was upstairs. And there was a mantle, and I remember playing teacher on that black mantle. Now, I don't know what I taught, but whatever I taught, I liked doing it. So it's always been something that I find comfortable. So whether it was art, sure wouldn't be math, but I imagine I could teach several things. Because I know what it feels like to be on the other side of that curve, having been there to learn English and to learn subjects and then art. So yeah. Ta-da! Next question.
Well, I think that's really really interesting. And so when after you did these classes, and then how did the pastel evolve? Your interest in
From
the
from
pastel,
Richard.
just from Richard.
Just from Richard. But I've never taken actual water. I'm I never took a real watercolor class. It was those 6 weeks. What am I now? Oh gosh, maybe almost 15 years ago. And it was that one oil class and that one painting. But what happened was, oh, and this is a great story. I'm so funny. So what happened was my sister had come to visit from Italy, and my sister was, I don't know, my big sister, but anyway. So we were in town for lunch. And that morning I said, and she was very supportive of me. And that particular house had a long porch on the side with windows on 3 sides. And that was my studio. So the sun came in on the west. So she was in there and she was telling me, she really liked that I'm doing something constructive and all this. She said, "What are you going to do with this stuff?" I said, "I'm going to ask the gallery in town if they want them." She goes, "Oh, no, you can't do that." I said, "Oh, sure I can. What are they going to say? No." I said, you know, I can make believe I don't speak English. I don't know. But. And so she said, "You're not going to do that." I said, "Yeah, I'm going to take 3 small paintings that are already framed, and I'm just going to walk in and the best gallery, no second, the best one, and I'm just going to see what." She goes, "Okay." Park the car. She's going to meet me down the block, small Main Street. I walk in with my bag and 3 paintings. And I had called ahead of time and asked, could I please have a 12 o'clock appointment or 1 o'clock appointment? And the gentleman who, he and his wife are the gallerist, he said, yes, stop in. Okay, so I stop in and I showed it to him, and he was he has since passed, a real Southern gentleman. He always had his bow tie and he had his little dog with him, and he was just a hoot. Classical music's playing, oriental rugs, art, and I'm like, oh boy. So I was very cool. I let him say whatever he want. He said, "Do you have any more?" I wanted to say, "To bring you hundreds," but no, at that time I didn't have hundreds, but I said, "Sure." So he said, "Why don't you bring me 6 more and I'll keep these 3." Okay, and that's how it started. I'm still in the gallery. It's still the best one in Beaufort, Pickney Simmons. Um, so he got out of bed one morning and fell, hit his head, and passed. Catastrophe happens. But the wife, who is the gallerist, and I had already become friends. We were friendly, but we're friends now, so many years. Her daughter graduated college and works with her, and she's a jewelry maker. And the two of them are beautiful, blonde, very gracious Southern belles. They wouldn't want to hear that, but they are. They got their pearls, the whole thing going on, you all. Welcome to the gallery, the whole thing. And so supportive. I cannot tell you how good they've been to me. They just, anyway, so from pastels, she said to me, why can't you do oils? She said, I'll always keep your I'm her only pastel artist ever. And I've been there over 12 years now. So she said, why can't you do some oils? Because we can get whole lot more money. I said, that's not true. And that was my whole thing. We're not going to do that. Things on paper are way less than an oil painting. But she has such famous artists, Wes Frazier, etc., in that gallery that, So I said, sometime I'll play with it. So I started to play with small oils. Well, she has some 30 by 48 of mine and she sells them. And I'm not an oil painter, but I have switched a little bit lately exploring water soluble oils for many reasons. That 6-month waiting period for them to dry is brutal, whereas the water miscibles, the water solubles or miscibles are just quicker, and they work much more to me like watercolors. Anyway, so my 99.9 investment in my artwork are pastels because I love them and they love me. I love them. They're just wonderful. And the idea of this daily, I've done it for it's probably 5 years now. Because where I live and where to do what I do, I can't maintain the type of friendships that I normally would, go to lunch, go to dinner, play at the beach, all that stuff. I have to have my head on uh, in a comfort zone of solitude where I can take my morning walk, do some meditation, yoga, come way down to be quiet and see what happens at the easel. So I frequently do not paint. Most of my dailies, and I post them every day, come from somewhere else, which is why I do it. It's like a drug. It's magical. Something shows up. I can have a photograph. One, I don't know how to copy because I'm not trained. And even if I were, I wouldn't want to do that. I don't know how to copy. And two, I love the trinity between what I start, what the painting gives me to respond to, and what my viewer sees. So I've got this trinity thing going on, and it's magic. And who doesn't want magic? So yeah, the pastel thing is wonderful. The daily, I try very hard. Very few people, I think, are and take this in a good vein, are as lonely as I am. I'm not lonely, but I keep myself alone a lot. I've been very fortunate to not have to um, cook and clean and do those things that this princess chooses not to do. It's a terrible thing. The only thing I do is paint. And I know that sounds terrible, but that's what I want. It's what I want to do. I don't care if it sells. I don't care if you like it or you don't like it. I want to paint, and I don't know how else to explain it. I love the process. I love what happens at that easel, and I like it quiet. If there's noise or there's music, um, that doesn't work. In a workshop, it's totally different. In a workshop, no music. That I know that some wonderful artists, and I love their work, has nothing to do with anything, like to have the music on to get themselves literally jazzed up. I don't. But in a workshop, I can talk and paint, I can explain and keep going and all that stuff at the same time. But in my daily life, I tend to isolate myself a lot. I live in places, my husband doesn't like it here, to be honest, because he's much more social than I am. He likes to chit chat with people on the street, and we don't have. I mean, we have houses. I'm in a cul-de-sac, but there's nobody around. It's just pretty nature, which works for me. And as selfish as that is, that's how art happens. Um, Also, uh, I think that a lot of people have real commitments, and depending on the age, I'm much older. If I were still in my 40s with a child, and I was widowed very young, I was widowed at 40. So I had to get him to school. I had to go to work, and I mean, it never entered my mind. Nor would I have had the day to sit and go, wonder which substrate I should use today. It just doesn't work like that. So people don't have that commitment often, which is why I wrote an article for Pastel Journal, and another one will be coming out hopefully in plein air about the daily practice, and put aside an egg timer. Give yourself 3 minutes. If you have five, five. If you only have one, then doodle. But give yourself something that disciplines and gets you into a routine. It never feels like a job, even though, when I get a check, I go, wow, this is fun. This is really a lot of fun. Or the gallery will say, Eve, you're painting so. I'm like, yippee. She said, don't you want to know which one? Not really, because I won't remember. There's a new one tomorrow morning on the easel. I don't know which one you're talking about, Oh, don't you remember it's that one we put it on the, no, I don't, So that's my life. And what else would you like to know?
Well, I think it would be interesting to know, when you were exploring different mediums, how you chose, what was the deciding factor that, man, pastels is it?
Because Richard liked it.
Okay.
I know that sounds very weird. I hope he never sees this. But no, seriously, there is something about his way of being that if he is positive about something, it's encouraging. If you tell me you like it, I would be thrilled, but I don't have to have you like it. I don't have to have anybody, him either. But it's for some reason, when it comes from him, it was supportive. And it would push me in the sense that maybe it's because he does ditches and I do those creaky marshes and stuff. I don't know if there's a camaraderie in that. I just think he's a fabulous teacher, and I respect a person who can really teach. I mean, he knows it, and he can explain, and you can assimilate.
Mhm.
I could blab all day how to do 1 through 10. Oh, but it doesn't seem to go into your head. It has to match. It has to be, if you're what type of learner you are and the type of teacher that comes your way. Um,
Well, I think everybody has a mentor, if you will, that they're kind of why you do what you do.
yeah,
I hear that from, you with his work, and why you choose pastels, and there's like I think you said, a camaraderie there, a connection.
perhaps. Also, I think I think it's important that where I live and the way that I express myself is more conducive for me in pastels. Watercolor, I don't know well enough to express myself that way. And although I'm learning about oils, I don't feel the same affinity. I like everybody else, or as he says, the one with the most pastels that death wins. I got another box of earth greens yesterday. Do you know how many greens I already have? It's like I used to buy jewelry. Now I spend money on more pastels that are brand new. I have boxes that I mean, it's really not normal, but who knows if I need that yellow tone? I don't know. I might need it tomorrow. But I like, I mean, I watch things all the time. I love, there's very few artists I don't love. I mean, um, it's just when you ask about pastel specifically, that's what I don't attribute it just to that. I don't know what else. That was my first thought. Yeah.
I think I dipped into the pastel world because of, well, I picked up a book of Handel's and then Maori,
Uh-huh.
and
There you
they were,
go.
I mean, two different, really different styles, but really, really interesting works. And I think you really start to, you got to have some basis to develop your own work from, and you'll
Yeah.
grow from that. Um,
Yeah, I never wanted to be Albert who puts his hand over the substrate before he starts. But I do that too now because I say, you're putting in all the little pieces, all those puzzle pieces. You're feeling where they're going to go. And then you grab something from somebody else,
mhm.
or a certain color, or Barbara Jenicke's, wonderful artists we have in pastels.
So Eve, if you could only have one one box of pastels, what would tell me who, if you
What?
were to suggest to somebody who's just starting out, this is
Hmm.
what I would suggest you would, a pastel set you would buy. What would you tell them?
I do that um, in when I teach in Hilton Head. Often they're beginners, which is nice because I get them. I feel on the right track.
Mhm.
But Terry Ludwig for landscapes, I'm going to answer it in reference to landscapes because that's what I do. That's what I know. He has a set of 14 landscape um, pastel sticks, pigments, and those are fabulous. For me, when I'm going to go somewhere, I used to take, the box that was, the big travel box. And I saw Mr. McKinley's travel box where every stick is perfect and clean after he's used it. And I'm like, I've tried. It's impossible. Then I went to a medium box. Now I'm down to a little cigar box. We don't need all that stuff as long as your values are still right. You know, the
Right.
user right, the values. So I say Terry Ludwig's 14 for landscape, but when I go someplace that I need, I like the Richardson sets a lot. They're not really expensive. And I like very much Lina Celta's landscape set. Right now, I have to say, in my position, which means I'm able to spend and try stuff, I'm liking earthberries very much. Very much. They're pigmented, they break easily. I don't like that, but I don't take them out of the studio. But I like the different hues. I like the shape. I like the thickness because they're not thick. They're more flat. I like very much that they're somewhat gritty, but not like Townsend gritty. Um, and they play nice with all my other pastels. So yeah, and I like very much that Dakota Art has that whole sheet that tells you which are soft, which is hard, which are
Yep.
this. And if you look at that, you can see that you have too many choices these days. So you have to kind of experiment with smaller sets. The investment of a 14 landscape Terry Ludwig, which is a great product. Yeah.
Eve, just as a note, I've been taking out the earthberries on location when I do plein air.
Uh-huh.
And I've had pretty good luck with them not breaking up, and
Yeah,
I actually keep them in the boxes that they ship in.
me
So I
too.
keep them separate. But they're pretty sweet.
Yes, they're very sweet. And right now, I am still, I probably have, now I have almost every set of theirs. I did order, what was it, forest. I'm into this green. I'm not into green. There, I love, if you open my closet, they're all, for me to have something dark on is unusual. Usually I wear, baby blue and pinky pink and lavender and yellow, all what I consider pastel colors. But earth berries have a lot of that in their lighter shade. And so I don't know how much of it is that too, visually. I'm so visual. I like the look, you know. Um, but so I think I ordered forest something and something else because I needed it badly.
Yes, it's a drug of choice.
It is, that's a lovely way of putting it. It truly is. And what happens is I go up to the easel, and I set up my easel. That's another thing I try to instill in students. Too many things can take your not time, but what your intention. So I have certain routine. I usually have a board that says my intention. Could be a word, but usually it's an idea. Today I'm going to work with cools versus warms with the contrast. I'm going to do a nocturne and why and blah blah blah. Um, and a color wheel, and I use a bunch of different color wheels, but one basic color wheel and a value chart and things like that. And so before I leave the studio, because my husband says it's 6:45, it's dinner, and you know what? I'm not going to miss that because I didn't have to do too
Yeah,
much. So being a princess, I am never late. I am there. Oh my gosh, usually a minute before, on time. Yeah.
good for
So,
you.
and he likes to cook. I got lucky. And he's a good cook. I got lucky. But what happens is that, the day goes on and like it's almost 6:45. I tell what's her name on my thing, Alexa, set the alarm for 6:40 so I have time to at least wash my hands. But I usually do it at 6:30 so that I have the easel ready for the next day, whether or not I use what I put up. I have an intention already. And then that gets to simmer at night. Right before I go to sleep, I picture it. I already have an idea of what I want to do. And what I don't like are, you know, I, I don't like the idea that I like a photograph. So I try to blur it. I take pictures from the road where it's blurry. So I already have something that's not detailed. I want to do the details and the fun marks.
Yeah. So, what about substrates? Do you work typically with one substrate, or do you have different ones that you like to use?
Oh, no, honey, we could go in my closet and you could pick out whatever you like.
Okay, I'll
I
be over.
don't use canvas. That I don't do. I do rarely. I had taken with Kathy DeTrano in Florida a Jimmy Wright workshop because we happened to be in Florida and he was there for something. And he did his flowers that day. He held a bouquet in his hand and he drew it on hot pressed watercolor paper that had been gessoed. It's just primed. So I have done that and I do that. And I have a little booklet I just got, of hot pressed watercolor paper. Rather than do nothing, I can do that if I am somewhere. Okay. Um, I still am a UArt fan. Uh, I was never as much of a Wallace fan as everybody else. I can't tell you why in comparison to UArt. Uh, I like very much their softer grades, the higher up, 600, but I always use 400, but I like 6 and 800. I love Color Fix, ampersand, is it ampersand? Oh dear, it's not ampersand, is it? Color Fix?
Color Fix's Art Spectrum, isn't it?
Thank you, I knew it was
Yeah.
an A. Art Spectrum, the Color Fix, but the beige, because I put a not a ground, but a red cad light underpainting usually, but it doesn't have to be red, but a warm underpainting. I use a lot for my daily practice, 6x8 Dakota panels, because they're mounted and they're nice and soft and I can prime them myself. They're ready to go, but I like to prime my own I have so many different ways of texturizing stuff. And the landscape, calls for it. And if
Right.
if it was a portrait, unless it's a wart, I'm going to be lost because I won't be able to add any texture, So yeah. Let me think, what else do I use? I use a lot of gator board, not foam core, never, but gator board primed. What else? I have in my stack down there. That's probably my main those are my main substrates. Yeah.
So Eve, do you want to show us some of your work that you have
Sure.
submitted? And I think and you can talk about those pieces and a little bit of your process.
Sure. Process is never the same. It can't be, but I'm always more than willing to share. I'm just going to show you this, and that's why I wondered if I needed a camera. This is from Vistaprint. Why is it left and right could be tricky for me. Wait, go this way. Yeah. So anyway, this is a painting, but it's actually from Vistaprint. I asked them to make a board. They'll do a board. So when I teach, if I'm someplace, it says what it was. In this case, it was visual poetry and has my name on the other side. So I don't have to bring the original painting. Maybe I don't have it anymore, but I can use these and they're cheap. It's just I think it's a wonderful thing to have. It's really just a photograph on board. But anyway, let me share my screen. Share. Any questions? No questions.
No questions.
I love questions. Would you like to? Well, there you are. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Let me bring this down. Good. So this is I like a square very much. Whatever I picked, happen to be on the shelf in the back, because if I start going through my 300 paintings a year for the last 10 years, well, I don't have all of them, but so I just arbitrarily picked. This was for a show. It went to Salmagundi in New York. The title was Campsites. And I remember at some point being at a campsite many, many years ago in upstate New York. That was my inspiration for it. I didn't have
Eve, can you we're not seeing that big. I don't know if can you make that big so we can see the image better?
Ooh, I see it big on my screen.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
No,
No, I'm seeing the
I
same
didn't see it
thumbnail.
either. Maybe
Okay.
if you double click it, it'll become the main,
Yeah.
I double clicked it, it went back. I double clicked it, it went like this. Hold on. That didn't work at all. That I got everybody else. That was not smart. Um, hmm, hmm. Let's go back to share. Let me start again.
Do full, Chris, do you think it's full screen that she needs to?
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think so. There,
It says I'm on full screen. That's not good. That's what it says. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. Let me stop the share a second and see if when I go to view, it has speaker. So there I am in all my glory. Now, if I share and I try to go to this, but instead, there's nowhere I can do bigger than this. Ooh, let me try it with the right click. Open. Is that any better?
No.
No,
Oh dear, I'm so sorry.
Do you have more than one option when you go to screen share? Does it give you several different options to choose from for sharing options?
It just has on share itself, it just says your screen sharing. Um, Let me try just when it's one. No, this fills up my whole screen. That's
Oh,
why
there it is. Okay.
There it
is. We got
There-
it.
we got it.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, yes.
Yeah. It's full screen now.
I don't know what I did.
Oh, don't undo it. Whatever you.
Okay, so this was done on board on a piece of gator board that I cut to 8x8. I primed it with gesso, clear gesso. And then I think I took, and don't quote me, but this would work. I took a nickel brush, one of those cheap hardware store brushes, dipped
Yeah.
it in pastel ground, which may or may not have had tint from an acrylic tint. And then I dab-a-dooed it, doop, 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 doop. And then when that was dry, I went back and made sure it was at least 80%. I don't care if it goes to Selma Gundi, but because of PSA, I always make sure it's at 80% or more. And I have asked Jimmy Wright about that 80%. And the gist of the conversation was that, do you know in your heart, and I do. I mean, I make it my effort to do 80%. So if it's 79, so be it.
yeah, who's counting?
Yeah. Should we try another one?
Yeah, so Eve, where do you, somebody, I think Vicky asked, where do you get your gator board?
Oh, I buy everything online. I don't have a store where I am. Actually, that's not true. I could drive an hour and I would have a Jerry's Artorama outlet store, which may or may not carry it. But I buy everything online. eBay, Amazon, any place I can get it, cheap. I just I like to get it already cut because I chipped off the tip of a finger that way with one of those crazy knives. Not an X-Acto knife, that other box cutter. And
Box. Yeah. Box
not,
knife.
not smart. I ended up having a big problem. But anyway, so yeah. Anything else?
Do you have a favorite time of day that you paint?
Oh, yes. Oh, that I paint or that I choose to paint the landscape. So,
That you shoot, yeah.
yeah, so that's two parts. One, I'm a morning person. I'm toasted by afternoon, and by dinner bell, forget it. I'm already, done for the night. I prefer early morning, or I'd have to say that dusk is probably my all-time favorite. A lot of paintings with that magical time of day, not necessarily the last the golden hour, but more so, I should say, the last few minutes when once it's dark, but on the marsh, it's never really quite that dark till it's, way after, maybe 45 minutes after the sun sets. And where I am, we don't have lights and we don't have any things to obstruct the skies, which allows me to really see. And I do teach the gradient of how to do a believable sky. And one of the things that people leave out, and I don't see it in this particular one, but often if you look at my work, the dirty horizon is that red violet, which is not a shocking red violet, but it is a red violet, and so that it reads correctly. And that's what you see at that magical time right before, the day slips into the real night. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lovely piece.
Thank you.
Let's look at some more.
Well, the next one, if we can get it to do it again. Now, I know this isn't big yet, right? Right.
Yeah, there it is.
There it is. Mhm.
Okay. So this is what I just showed you. This is the painting of a variation of the painting that I showed you from the board that Vista Print made. It's not exactly the same. I lightened a lot of things in the front, but I still had to keep it warm because, you know, the viewer is in the front. And there's a lot of pluses to being tiny besides airplanes. But my sight line and my vantage point are totally different from taller people. So I have a different angle. Now, on this particular picture, you can see very well the way the sky works, where you have your darkest blue into a teal, into you add a yellow, which becomes that beautiful green, into a pink orange, and then the dirty horizon. To me, that's like, okay, better than a piece of jewelry. That's fabulous. I love that. Yeah. And, you can see how things recede where, and this, I learned something from everybody, and some pearls of wisdom I remember. For example, in the beginning, I had Liz Haywood Sullivan, and I don't think I'm saying anything bad. She was doing critiques, and two things she told me, and I never forgot it. On paper, this was, your trees in the back or the shape has to be more of a blue-green. And I do that. You can see it in here very well. And she said, if your water doesn't lie flat, you're not getting in the show. Ooh, you know how I like ribbons. Yeah. So, yeah. And you can see how the textures make this type of a painting. It certainly is not Eve Miller is a brilliant artist, because all you've got are one big shape, the sky, the water in the front. When I squint, that whole marsh is one, and the trees. So you have four big shapes broken up. That's all you've got. People go, how did you know to do that? I look at it, and if it doesn't look pleasing, I wipe it off a little bit and start again. And if I don't like, I throw out stuff. They say you should cut them up and all this stuff. My garbage men are not interested in my work, I don't think. But when you have a daily painting, and I put it I keep it in a baker's rack, which I learned from Kathy DeTrano. It's the metal rack that the bakeries put the hot
Mhm.
goods on, and it's about 5 feet high, and it comes in these big metal trays. And I put, when I'm done, I put see, sometimes I lose English. Not wax paper, but the other thing that looks like wax paper.
Parchment?
Thank you. No, not parchment. No, sorry. No, it comes in a roll, glassine.
Glassine.
Yeah. So I put glassine over it, and I put one on top of the other because I don't touch them again until who knows when. And then at some point I say, and there's simmer in there, so I call it the simmering box. And then at some point I go, oh, well, I think I'll go through one of the drawers, and like every 3-4 months, and I'll take a drawer out and go through. What were you thinking? Ooh, maybe I could work on this. Maybe it's done. Maybe we'll put it upside down. Maybe we'll get the mirror, and see if it needs whatever. Because when you're so close to a work that I do, I paint my pastels alla prima. They're done. These things, my daily practice, and I'm not making light of it or being trite. 30-40 minutes is about it. I don't spend more time because I've already prepared. I already dreamt about it. I already thought about it. I already felt the substrate. I already did all that stuff. So all I have to do now is just see it come out.
Hey, Eve, somebody asked about what do you mean by the dirty horizon?
Okay, when you're outside, if you don't have obstruction from artificial lights, and I'm on the coast, so that's what I'm seeing. The sky in nature, the sky visibly goes through these different hues. Sometimes you can I could just take a portion. I could start with the teal or just the bottom part, but there's a certain spectrum, color spectrum of the sky that has to be. And if you want to include the very horizon, because of the moisture and the droplets and the dust particles, they get skewed from the short waves that are no longer, because the sky this time of day is setting, you don't have that intensity. So it becomes a purple, and you still have some red, which I don't remember, is either short or long wavelength, but it's not what it is in daytime. So it becomes a dirty horizon. That explains it.
Yes, yes. Somebody asked, well, they asked if you had a preferred time of day to paint, but also, do you return to the same location? And then they asked if you returned, do you rework your plein air paintings back in the studio?
Interesting question. I have a time limit with plein air. One, because I'm uncomfortable with the bugs. I have a hat with netting and I can't see out of the netting. And I take my golf cart and I go to a particular place here it's a peninsula called South Point. A lot of my daily work says South Point on Cumberland. And I'm there maybe 30 minutes, and I cannot, it's not that it's not finished or it's finished, but I cannot be honest about a critique of that until I put it on the easel. I have several lights, different companies for daylight, morning light, it changes, the meter changes. I'll take pictures of it and then decide if it needs anything. A plein air painting can be plein air and studio. If you look in a magazine, you will see that unless they request it just be plein air and it's, beginning to end. A lot of paintings are plein air and finished in studio. Me personally, I think one has to do what the painting wants. The painting is my boss.
Mhm.
If something needs to have a little, you can't see my hand, but I'm putting a spot of purple, and I'm back in the studio or putting it in a frame, then I'm gonna do that. I don't have to be a purist. So if that answers the question.
Yeah, and when you go out, well, I guess either inside or outside, do you do thumbnails and color sketches
I
before?
cheat. You want to know how I cheat?
Sure.
So, and I teach this in my workshops because I want people to enjoy painting. Nobody wants to do thumbnails. They're really helpful, but nobody wants to do them. You need to do them. So, in order to get people to do them, I teach them which apps can, like Notanizer, and so that at least they have a start. And then once they see that it's not so upsetting, they could do the thumbnail because that creates truly, out of your thumbnails, besides your outline and your value sketch and your notan, you're getting a lot of information. I paint from my value sketch. I can do that on my computer. I can do that on my phone. If I'm out in the field, I can quickly take a picture and see my value sketch. And because the apps are so damn smart, you can change the lever to the lights and the dark. Even if it's light, I can make it dark, same as I would with a pencil.
Mhm.
Is that the preferred way to go? Probably not. But if I'm giving myself on the golf cart with the dog and the bugs 30 minutes, I'm going to use the apps if I need it. Usually, I just paint. Don't do that in the studio, but when I'm out in the field, I'm schlepping all this stuff. I keep trying to get it down to very basic emergency kit, but I've got backpacks. I could stay overnight. And so it depends on the situation. It really depends on the situation. I'm very fortunate that where I paint, and to answer the question, do I paint at the same place a lot? A lot of this peninsula looks the same but different. In other words, it's the marsh, but different angles, different heights, different colors, different hues, different shadows, all that good stuff. You can crop it, you can make it bigger, smaller. You can make you do all that in your thumbnails. Is it a vertical? Is it going to be 2 to 3, 3 to 4, whatever? But all those things are good to work out before you start, unless you're training yourself. I've trained myself to be able to get out there, put my thing, start with a watercolor. I usually have a watercolor underpainting. And that sometimes you see and sometimes you don't. Yeah.
Mhm.
And also, for plein air, those 6x8 are fabulous. I have a whole series on my website called Small Gems. I think I do, or I did. I haven't added too much to the small gems. I'll put it on the daily social thing. I'll say this is part of the small gem series, and then I put them on the website. But I have to take something else off. Again, imagine if you do dedicate to it every day. I have over 300 paintings. So let's be real. You can't have 300 all the time on that website. It's silly.
Right.
And then which ones go to the gallery? And then I have a gallery in St. Simon's that's a little bit particular. I have to be very cautious. So I have to be a little bit more careful on that website. So I don't put every single thing on the website. I do on Facebook and Instagram. It's easy for me. The website is a job. It's the other aspect of the business.
Yeah. Who is your website with, Eve?
Fazo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Good.
I think they're nice about if I have a question, they answer right away.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big deal.
It is.
But,
It
but
is.
if you've got a little bit more time, let's take a look at one more, and then because we're right around 1 o'clock. But let's take a look at one more of your paintings.
Okay. Oh, geez. It just, oh boy, don't do that. Here it is. Okay. Let's see. Let's pick something that I like. Okay, this is a small piece. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. If you can't,
We can see the thumbnail still, but
ooh. It doesn't seem to have a thing that lets me show big. Oh, wait. Any better?
not yet.
Okay. Too bad. It's a sweet little piece. I'm pushing the small gems today. Okay, let's see. It says 1:1, maybe. No better when I do double click. Oh, well.
You don't-
Upload?
You don't remember what you did last time?
No. Yeah,
No.
I did. See,
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
that's what I did. Is that any better?
No.
Okay. Well, it's not the end of the world. We have
Try
other.
try a different one, a different image.
Sure. Just now it's taking up the whole screen. Do you think I can get out of this? Okay, wait a minute. There. Any better? Maybe not. I don't know what to do with this.
Mm.
Edit in Picasso. Let's see if that makes a difference. It says large. Okay, well, I don't know what else to do. You can't see it, huh?
No.
Oh, that's a shame. Let me just click. If you see anything, let me know. I'm so sorry.
Maybe go out of screen share, because that seemed to help when you did that before.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Let's try again. No, let's go here. No. That doesn't, it doesn't want to play nice.
That's
There
better.
it is.
That's,
That's
there
better.
it is. You got it.
Oh, who knows? You see,
It's
there's
bigger.
there's voodoo. Okay, here you've only got really, you have three shapes, really one big shape, one medium and one small, which they always say you want a papa bear, mama bear, and a baby bear. So again, does it look like a marsh? It does to me. It may not to anybody else, but it's the idea of if you look to the left below the horizon, high horizon means it's going to be about the land. And what's nice about this piece is that there was a diagonal that was created left to right about the middle with contrasts, and it was the red and the green. And right to the left, you can see I left the mark of the watercolor dripping, which was nice. And on the very bottom, dusting, where you shave off a hard stick that you're not madly in love with and don't mind losing, that makes this dusting. And often along the base of the marsh, there's shells and things like that. So it could be, in this case, I wanted a warm because it's in the foreground, but it could have been another color. Any question?
Yeah, that's a great, that's a nice example too of your sky colors, I think, in this one, that you really see that
Yeah,
definitive changes of the atmosphere.
right. The thing you don't want to do is have a real line across it.
Right.
You know, it's got to be smooth. Nothing in nature is rough. Things are smooth, except for thorns.
Mhm.
But
That's right.
generally, yeah, yeah. Oh, this is, oh, I want to show you this. I want you to see this. I got to get this big for you somehow.
It's,
It's
yep.
big. It's big.
Yep, it is.
Okay, this is my piece. I'm so proud of it. At PSA in New York, and it got an award, which made me gaga. And it's going to the Butler.
Cool.
It's so cool. It's
That's
so
cool.
cool. And it's such a, again, how many big shapes do I have? Two, and there's the tree line. But I got to play in the foreground with all that texture.
And your sky is just beautiful, man. The way
Yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Last Light. There's a guy on the island who he's not a photographer, and he only posts with his iPhone pictures. He lives, a lucky guy, he lives on the water. So he's got the sky right in front of him, west, and he posts every night the sky. It doesn't look like this. It's more of a shocking, you know, ball of fire where he lives.
Yeah.
I'm on the east-north side, so it's a little bit smoother, or well, I should say not smoother, but softer. But anyway, so this is the painting that I wanted to share.
Well, that's a beautiful piece and well deserved for the award. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
it's gonna be going to the Butler.
Yeah, you know, that makes me so happy. Yeah. The thing is,
Okay.
some other day we'll talk about what they did to the box with the shipping. This is the first time it's happened to me that it got a little bit crazy with the box, but all ended well.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Eve, this was really been fun to visit with you and hear your story. Thanks for sharing. You had some great tips, and your work is lovely. I'm a big fan.
Ditto.
And thank you. And yeah, so again, just thanks, Chris. Thanks for standing in for Pam.
Oh, Chris,
And-
it was lovely to meet you.
No problem. Thanks.
Yeah.
Love listening. Yeah.
And everybody that joined us, thanks for joining in and for the questions.
Appreciated.
And our next We Talk Art is in 2 months, and it's Sandra Brissell from the New Orleans area. So I'm anxious to visit with her. And if anybody's interested, she has her New Orleans drawing group that's an online Zoom thing that you can join in, and it's the next best thing to be having, being in a live model drawing, and she gets these models from all over. So anyway, that's all I know. I've got a lineup for next year for We Talk Art, and I think you all will be enjoying those artists. And what else? I think that's about it. There's as far as PSWC, we've got October 1st starts the next challenge, and I think that's the 21 and 21. So 21 days of posting. And what
And
else?
99 Voices is still on.
99 Voices. And that show has had quite a few sales. And
I sold my painting.
Awesome.
hey, that's great. And I think
And
Chris,
the
you did
people
all
were
the
so nice.
shipping, right?
What?
I think Chris did he was the shipper, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But
Yeah,
but
So if
they
your
Yay.
painting's damaged, don't look at me.
no. I was talking about New York. No,
Mm.
no. The Hilbert is fine, but it was just that the people who bought it the night it opened, and when they called, and when I spoke to them, they were like really, really nice. I just thought, oh my gosh, it would be so nice if I could deliver it. But they said they'll pick it up. I said,
Oh.
great.
Wow,
Yeah.
nice.
well, anyway, Chris, thanks for doing that. I mean, that's such a big deal.
No, you're
And-
no problem. And that show is beautiful, man. There's some really
Beautiful.
nice pieces in there. Whew.
Yeah, I was disgusted. Not that I would necessarily gotten in, but I was disgusted that I missed the deadline by a day.
Oh,
You know. That's the way it goes sometimes, right?
yeah.
But anyway, Eve, thanks again. There were people
Thank
making
you.
comments that they were lovely. They love your stories. Your work is wonderful. Somebody said they're sorry that they missed most of it, but she loves your work. And thanks to everybody. So go out there and
Paint.
paint.
Daily practice. See you at the easel.
And also,
Thank you
and
so much.
one more little thing too is that Out of Bounds is again going to be, the show is in April, and so there's going to be be watching for the prospectus coming out toward the end of the year, first of next year, and that's our mixed media show. So that's always fun to experiment and try some different things.
Yeah.
So anyway, take care, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Rest of our day.
Carry on.
Yeah.
Thank you
All right.
so
You guys.
much.
Yeah. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.